Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and Show. I am super excited today because we have a special guest. Her name is English Simone. English, welcome. Please, can you
Hi.
introduce us to the audience?
Yes, absolutely. So, greetings and great day, parents. And thank you so much, Anne, for having me on. Again, I am English Simone. I'm a writer, advocate, and soul motivator. Now, what that looks like for me is I'm in the trenches with youth and their families to help bridge the gap, connect the dots, especially when it comes to mental and behavioral wellness and health management. So we're in here, we're having conversations with parents, we're having conversations with our youth, and we're also giving them the opportunity to access those resources and create ways to better manage themselves, their emotions, and understand the behaviors that comes behind that. And also we are in the school systems, we're in our public health and service entities, making sure that our leaders, community stakeholders, and policymakers know exactly what our families need to put them on a track to total wellness. So when you hear the name English Simone, you best believe that I'm somewhere working with your kids and I'm working with their families to make sure that you have what you need to thrive mentally, emotionally, and socially.
I love that so much. Your mission speaks to my heart. Okay, let's start with the first question. What is
Okay.
one thing that parents can change that will really impact their kids?
Hmm. That parents can change. Oh, this is a good one because one of my mantras is, we as adults think we know everything and we are often set in our ways. But I will say that one thing that adults or parents can do to really help and impact their children's lives is to create an honest and safe space for them to have authentic conversations. Long is gone the day where parents could say, because I told you so, and that was it. As much as we don't like that, the reality is that children, they want to know. And contrary to a lot of parents' beliefs, they want to hear from their parents. Yes, their peers are going to have influence, commercials, TV, social media, but at the end of the day, based on several conversations that I've had with some of our youth, they want to hear from their parents. And the only way they're going to hear it is if you start by listening to them. So creating that safe space, opening that door, and of course, making sure you provide a healthy standard of communication. And in doing that, you would be amazed at the opportunities that come to not only allow your child to be a better person, but you can better yourself as a parent as well. So just remembering that communication piece, because it is so important, is going to be vital in, helping to mold your babies into who you want or think they should be to thrive in this society.
Right. So, like, when I think about safe, like, maybe you can explain a little bit more about how we create safety as parents, because I think, like, a lot of parents are not sure what that looks like, right? And so, um, what is the way that we can help our children to feel safe? And how do we know if our children don't feel safe?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Um, because you're right. A lot of the times when we think safety, we're thinking the tangible aspects of being safe. We're thinking about making sure they have their seatbelts on, or locking the doors, or saying no to strangers. Those things, and all of those are valid. But safety, from the aspect of a child, and even us as adults, just human beings in general, means security. You know, if your child walks into a room and you see their disposition isn't, it doesn't sit right with you, it doesn't feel right to you, getting comfortable yourself to move on that instinct is what we need to become more comfortable with doing as adults. You know, moving on that instinct and with the mindset that they might be okay, they might not, but this is a better safe than sorry conversation. I'd rather ask you, because then what are you losing? I'd much rather ask my child that if they're okay because of a hunch that I have versus saying, oh, I'm afraid to ask because they might blow me off or they might feel like I'm invading their personal space. Because kids want to, one, they want to feel visible, and
Yes.
two, they want to be heard. But the only way to feel heard is to give them that opportunity to speak. So that's
Right.
one great way to create safety, like that, to show them that you notice them, show them that you feel some type of way about how they're feeling, and letting them speak to that. And also letting them know that you respect what they're feeling, and you acknowledge what they're going through, and you just want to help them solve whatever they're going through.
I love that. I love that. I think like we have to, as parents, change our way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That we are not trying to instruct or to tell them what to do. We are listening with empathy,
Yes,
and we are listening without judgment. So
that's
yeah, safety means you can say anything and you
mm,
know that you're still going to be loved, right?
yes, absolutely, without judgment. You said the key word. You know, who wants to walk into a room and just feel those daggers of stares, or just have that pain in your belly where I'm afraid to be me because of
Yeah.
what other people are going to think and how they're going to respond to me. As a parent, we have to, if nowhere else, create our homes in our arms as a place our kids can come and actually be okay with being authentic without being judged.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. I think like when we as parents just focus on, I'm gonna listen with love,
Yes.
and I'm going to allow my child to speak, and I'm going to love them and show them love, right? And
Yes.
that means we're not judging, we're not criticizing. We are listening in a supportive way, right?
Yes.
In a way that allows them, that makes them feel safe, right? I
It
love that.
does.
It's it's so important. Okay, let's go on to two. What do you
Okay.
think teens struggle with the most today?
Whew. I would love to know if your guests agree, but there's this thing called information overload, and it's due to access to internet. I'm guilty of it because many of us tend to let technology babysit our kids. And while technology it can be a blessing, it can also be a curse. And I say information overload, but even more so, it's our young people's inability to decipher fact from fiction.
Hmm.
So when you take all of this stuff that you see on social media, and even as an adult, it can be overwhelming because you're creating these internal clocks, you're in this internal race, you're seeing your peers and your friends doing this, that, and the third. And no one's really taking the time to think about what could be going on behind the scenes. It's always about the now. And our children are so susceptible to, peer influence and also self-shaming because they're not living up to this expectation that social media has decided for them.
Mhm.
And when we were coming up, the most I had to information was a good encyclopedia. So it's and you had to know how to
Same.
sort through the encyclopedia.
Same with
And
me.
yes, and it's changed so much. It has changed so much. And, you know, our children just, again, it goes back to wanting to be heard or even being seen, I should say. And,
Mhm,
social media creates that space to be seen. But then for our babies, it's like, oh, but how do they see me?
right.
I read this is the way that I should act when I'm around my friends, or this is what I should wear. This is how I should, this is what I should say. They are so driven and directed by information from outside sources that is like their little hearts and their little minds can't balance it well enough to make it actually effective and functional for them.
Mhm. I think it's so important that we educate our kids um, on the social media and information that not all the
Yeah.
information is fact, and you have to discern what is fact and what is not. And then the other thing is not like everything you see on social media may not be real. Like a lot of like the photos are airbrushed.
Yep.
Um, there's AI now, right? That's altering what you're seeing. I mean, so like we have to educate our kids on that because so that they're not absorbing things that are not real, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
you said the key part in that is educating them. And again, it's going to go back to that communication piece. And being okay as the parent to say that, you know, this is from my perspective. This is what I know as your parent. However, I understand what you're seeing and what you're feeling in response to that. I know, especially when it comes to that communication piece and teaching our kids about internet safety and deciphering that information. There's an organization that I'm on the board of directors for called Fort Safety, and what they do is teach parents how to have those conversations about you know what is what is the internet? What can it be? Is it AI, or how can I decipher fact from fiction? How can I lean more heavily on my feelings versus what someone says on the World Wide Web?
Yeah.
Being able to have those conversations about the peer pressures behind social media and the internet as well. All of those things compounded onto a child can lead to, I don't want to say self destruction because that feels a bit dramatic, but in some cases, self destruction. And it also influences the family dynamic as well. So
Yeah.
being able to help our babies decipher that information, break down fact from fiction, these are the types of conversations that, like you say, we need to have with our kids. And if we're not sure how to start those conversations, there are organizations there that can help get it going for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also feel like a lot of the kids that are like addicted to social media are the kids that we would call like the most at-risk kids. And the most at-risk kids are the kids whose parents are working all the time and they're
Mm-hmm.
not around. And so now social media has become like their parent. I hate to say, but
Yeah.
and so I think that is something that we have to be aware of as parents, that we have a window of time with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And we
once
have
that window is gone, it's gone, right?
it
So
is. It's
we have
fleeting.
we have to find a way to provide for our families financially, but also to be around when they are home, right? Be around when they're home. I think I know it's tough. I know it's
It
super
is.
tough, but but it is something that we have to try to figure out a solution for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How can we help our teenagers?
Okay. So
You know,
how
I
can
love teenagers, right? I'm a school counselor and teens are my passion.
we? Oh my goodness, yeah. So I can only imagine some of the stories you hear.
Yeah, lots.
Oh my gosh. And with teenagers, man, it's such a I always call things that I can't really summarize as I always call it fun.
Yeah,
Teenage years are such fun times because you're no longer a child, you're no longer a kid, but you're definitely not an adult. But in
right.
your mind, you are.
Yes.
And so you're at that place where you want to be able to lean on yourself more and be more independent, but you still need your parents. You still need some reassurance. You still need someone to take the time with you and say, I'm here for you and I'm going to help you the best way I know how.
Mhm.
And so, one of the things that I feel is that's most important for our teenagers is being accepting of their journey, you know, giving them that space again to talk so that we can listen. You know, many people look at our youth and always come in with guns a-blazing. They have a pocket of quotes that they're ready to throw out at any given time. But how are you going to quote something and answer a question that you've not heard? Let these kids speak, let them talk, and let's actually listen. But one of the things that I pride myself in is I go into every situation with a blank slate because I'm a true believer that I can't give you a solution if I don't know what the problem is. And just by listening to children and listening to our youth and actually watching them, and when I say watching, I mean you're watching for their mannerisms, you're watching for their disposition, you're listening for tone, and I even watch their posture. Just really being in the moment with our teenagers can help you dismantle or at least hear the root of the issue. And then that's when we can come in. And I feel that as adults, as caregivers, parents, our goal is to connect the dots. We don't want to drag our kids along. We don't want them to come kicking and screaming. I mean, sometimes we might,
Yeah.
but in most cases, you want to connect the dots because you want to give them the tools. And
Yeah.
again, if I give you a hammer and all you want is a drink of water, I didn't help you. I need to listen to what you really need. I have to be
Yes.
able to listen to you and address that need, and then I can give you the proper tools to get through. And that's
Yeah.
what I think a lot of our youth are missing is that opportunity to strictly speak and be real in their moment. And
Mhm.
then we can step back and provide them what they need.
I love that so much. I think it's so good that they need to be heard.
Mhm.
So important. I always say, like the toddler and the teenage years are when they need us the most, but they're
Yes.
also the toughest. They're the toughest stages of development for a
Mhm.
parent. It,
Because
it's
it's so
the
impressionable. That's when they're, both are very huge stages of exploration. You're learning the new world, I would say, for our toddlers.
Yeah,
You're now on your own 2 feet and you get to chase whatever this thing that moves like you, doesn't look like you. But then when you become a teenager, it's like, oh man, I get to explore the big wide world now at this point. And you're
yeah,
taking all the nuggets that you've gathered along the way and trying to create something that actually works that you can lean on and that you can rest assured that is helpful for you. So
yeah,
very
100%.
adventurous days.
I know, I know, I know. It's so amazing. Like, and teenagers, even though they push you away, even though they're like, don't, mom, don't come into the school. Like my kids, both of them said that to me. Um, even though they push you away at times, they still need you.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
still need you. And any time that they want to talk is the time to do it, to connect. Don't like stop everything you're doing. If your child, your teen says, "Mom, can I ask you some questions? Dad, can I hang out with you today?" Then you stop whatever you're doing and you do it when they
Mhm.
ask because they don't ask that often. And that's
True.
the time, that's an opportunity for connection.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing about the teenage years that fascinate me is that they're really figuring out who they are,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yes, they
They're
are.
yeah, they want to know. Just with my two boys, like they want to know about you. They want to know like What was your life? What are your beliefs? What do you think about this? Like they're trying to figure out where their place is by gathering information about their parents. So that's another opportunity, like just totally to connect, right? And to have those conversations. Those conversations are so impactful.
They are they're impactful, and they can be scary. They can,
Yes.
and I now acknowledge that. You know, my children are 14 and 10, and you know, I joke with my daughter, the 10-year-old. She doesn't like this teenage phase that her brother is in. She's she is not happy with it. And so I have to explain to her that, you know, he's just he's figuring things out. And, you know, she's gonna be there one day too. And she doesn't see it, but I'm bracing myself for it. And I consider them like scientists. Are like you said earlier, toddlers and teens are like scientists on different levels. We are exploring and we are trying to put all these pieces together, and you're basically reaching out to these adults and sometimes your peers, your teachers, for the resources you need. And when you're exploring, you want to have something that just makes sense. Sometimes just having something to hold on to for the moment until you can get to something better means the world to our
Yes.
teenagers. And I think it's important that we give them something. And I do
Yeah.
like that you said, you know, drop whatever you're doing, because our kids, I think that there's that fear of being vulnerable, or that fear of actually saying, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm growing up, but I still need my parents. I need that time. It's so
Mhm.
rare that they will say that. So when they do, you're right. We should take advantage of that and really take that time with them.
Yes, 100%. And then the other thing is like the teen and the toddler years are full of emotion. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of emotion there, and it has to do with like with the teenage years. It's just the brain chemistry, right? Like the hormones and the brain chemistry. It's not their fault. Like
No.
this is part of their development. This is part of their stage, and so we have to like don't personalize. They're getting angry. Don't personalize. They're crying, right?
Right.
That's even toddlers, like, don't personalize. They're having a temper tantrum, right? This is a stage they're going through, and they
Right.
need to go through that stage, right?
They
So,
do.
yeah, it's so important to like. I like your like what you said again about the listening, no judgment, and allowing them to express, right, their emotions, their big emotions, which they
Uh,
will have. Yeah.
they will have. And
Yeah.
that's actually on my podcast. It's Off the Clock Podcast with English Simone. And my motto is let the students be the teacher. Because again, as adults, we think we know everything, but we don't. But you want to give them that opportunity to be authentic and express themselves so that we as adults can genuinely help. And I absolutely love it because they are like just little balls of information molding, and they just want to get it out so they can hear it and bounce it off of other people, and getting those emotions out, even and letting them speak without being judged. that's
I
a,
love
I,
it.
that's one of the heaviest, the most important things that I lean on, even with my parenting and as an educator as well. Just being a safe space, again, creating that safe space so that they can
Yes.
be authentic, so that we in return can provide them with the tools that they need. Not every tool in the world, but the
Yeah.
tools that they need.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to do a recap and then I'm going to let you share with our audience where they can find you. Okay,
Okay.
so English Simone, she was like, let us listen to our children. That is the one thing that you can do, parents, that will totally impact your kids. Listening without judgment, allowing them to speak and to have a voice in your home, and creating safety to do that at home. So important. And being accepting of them in their journey, because the teenage years are tough. And so we need to accept them, how they're feeling about themselves, what they're trying to figure out about themselves, answering their questions, and to be in the moment with our kids, not doing, but just being with them so that they can feel like they're truly cared for and loved. I think that's a good recap. Is there anything I missed, Simone? English
No,
Simone?
I think it's a great recap, and that's what I want to drive home. Like, yeah, we have
Okay.
to create the space for our kids, and if you need help with that, there are resources available. And even myself, I always try to keep my doors open for youth and their families. And with that being said,
Yes.
across most, if not all, social media, you can find me at English Simone Official. So that's on YouTube, that's on LinkedIn, that's Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok. You
Wow.
can
Awesome.
find me there. So, and if you ever
Oh,
feel the need to reach out to me directly, please send me an email at contact@englishsimone.info. So contact englishsimone.info.
okay. And if you can send me all your links, I will put your links on with the show notes.
Yes,
Sound good?
absolutely.
All
Sounds
right. Well,
good.
thank you so much, English. This was so impactful, empowering. I love the conversation we had and so enjoyed having you as a guest. So I appreciate you and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and I definitely appreciate you giving me the time.
Yeah. All right, parents. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the show and tune in next time and we will be exploring more help for parents. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our Masterful Parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.